Russian forces launched several pinpoint missile strikes on Ukrainian forces' facilities in various regions of Ukraine. In Poltava region, 4 Su-27 VVSU aircraft were destroyed at the Mirhorod airfield, and an Mi-24 helicopter was damaged. In Dnipro region, a MiG-29 in shelter was hit by a missile strike at an airplane parking lot. Fire guidance and correction were performed by operators of the Orlan unmanned system. In addition, strikes were also carried out against enemy industrial facilities in Dnipro. At least 3 flights were recorded at one of the YMZ workshops and in the area of the gatehouse on the Enterprise's territory. For the first time in a long time, strikes on the enemy's fuel and energy complex on the territory of Ukraine were resumed. Fuel tanks on the territory of the 𝐒𝐤𝐫𝐚𝐢𝐴 oil depot were hit. The fire lasted for 2 days. Systematic work continues to destroy enemy air defense systems in Mirhorod. 2 S-300 SAM launchers and a 40 V6M low-altitude detector were destroyed by an incoming ballistic missile. Ukrainian forces, meanwhile, continued to attack targets behind Russian lines. One of the drones detonated on the territory of the Tambov gunpowder factory, while the second was destroyed in the sky. In addition, as a result of the drone raid, the operation of an electric substation supplying a significant part of Primorsko-Akhtarsk was disrupted. As a result of detonation in the villages of Pavlovskaya and Leningradskaya, fuel tanks at oil depots burned. The situation in the North Ukrainian direction remains without significant changes. Ukrainian forces are concentrating their efforts on engineering equipment of positions and training of personnel. The enemy redeployed a large number of reserves to Vovchansk, trying to advance in the vicinity of the local city administration. At the same time, Russian attack aircraft regained their previously lost positions at the corner of Lenina and Korolenka streets. In Hlybok, the AFU recaptured the territory of an agricultural enterprise on the northern outskirts, counterattacked at night with the support of armored vehicles. The AFU held positions near the soccer field, and artillery of the 155th Brigade of the TOF hit AFU positions. On the Kupiansk-Svatov direction, the Russian armed forces units were on the offensive towards Stepova-Novoselivka and Peshana. West of Kupiansk-Uzlov, a crossing over the Oskil River was once again destroyed, the 5th strike against it in the past month. In the Lyman direction, assault operations continued north of Terny, as well as in the area of Laptov Yar and Krula Balka. In Serebryansk forestry, an increase in enemy activity was recorded, along with an increase in the number of shelling and airstrikes by the Russian armed forces. A Russian flag was hoisted in Spern in the Siversk direction, which confirms the control of the Russian armed forces over most of the village. Objective monitoring footage from the field does not yet confirm the full liberation of the village. In Chasiv Yar, Russian troops established full control over the canal neighborhood and began clearing the adjacent forested areas. In the Kalinivka area, the situation remained tense due to the presence of Ukrainian forces in the Orlova tract. In Druzhba, the Russian armed forces successfully advanced along Sadova Street and also gained a foothold in the first apartment buildings along Yunosti Street. The AFU positions on the western bank of the Siversky Donets-Donbass Canal are actually semi-encircled. Fighting continued on the outskirts of Zalizn and Pivden, while Pivnichny was actively shelled by artillery and aviation. After advancing on the southern outskirts of New York, the Russian armed forces consolidated in the vicinity of the village of Yurivka. Russian troops took full control of Sokil and unfurled the flag. They also managed to dislodge the AFU from the fortified area the fighting for which had lasted more than a week. In the area of Novoalexandrivka, the Russian armed forces broke through the enemy's defenses in the direction of Vozdvizhenka and gained a foothold on the approaches to Lozovatska. Russian forces tried to expand their zone of control in the private sector of Kharkivka on both sides of the reservoir, moving westward. Fighting also continued in the northern part of Krasnohorivka and on the western outskirts of Maximilianivka. The Russian armed forces were advancing on the Paraskovivka-Kostyantinivka line, attempting to gain a foothold on the southeastern outskirts of the latter. To the south, the fighting continued in the area of Shiroka and Ikriana galleys north of Volodymyrivka, where the Russian armed forces had tactical successes. Russian troops knocked out the enemy from positions north of Staromayorsk and repelled incursions from Makarivka, where the AFU had previously withdrawn most of their forces. In 𝐒𝐩𝐿, Ukrainian forces still hold about half of the village. On the Zaporizhzhia direction, position battles continued northwest of the Verbove-Robotyne border. During the night, Ukrainian forces used heavy agrocopters to remotely mine Russian positions and supply routes. On the Kherson direction, small arms battles continued in the Dnipro Island zone and in the area of the road and railroad bridge supports. The enemy also continued attempts to land paratroopers, while Russian troops responded with fire on AFU watercraft.